Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast.
Hi!
Hi!
Welcome to the Port Charles 411, all about Ned being married to Chloe and Jax being married to Alexis, which we have referenced many times on the show, and we kind of realized some people might not know what the heck we're talking about, so we're going to fill you in as best we can.
This was another case of, in our minds, it happened only a few years ago, and then whenever you look back, you're like, oh, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, that did not occur to me, that it was
I know.
kids.
Right. You didn't have any kids. I didn't have my girls at that point in time. That's how long ago that was. And we just, I don't know. I can't believe it was 20 years. But anyway, yeah, just as we referenced it, I seriously was like, that just happened. Why would no one know that? Oh, that's why, 20 years.
Well, and if you think about it, some people, when we did that poll, they've only been watching for about 10 years. And people who can vote this year were not born yet when this story took place.
Right. Oh my gosh. And maybe that's why they thought it was safe to redo it, that there were enough new people that weren't going to remember. But us old time people are like, why are you doing it again? It's a disaster.
Although after doing this research, I mean, there definitely are, the core is very, very the same, but I don't think they're going to run into the same situations.
Right.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I would hope not.
So
I don't know. Now it's pretty crazy though.
That is true. So what we're going to do today is talk about the actual why the marriages happened, some shenanigans that happened during their marriages, and the breakup. And then the following weeks, we're going to actually talk about Ned and Alexis's relationship. And then the following week, we'll talk about Jax and Chloe's personal relationships, because a lot of people don't know that Ned and Alexis were a thing.
That's true. That seems so odd now. But now that he is so mature and Alexis is not. I don't mean age-wise. I mean personality-wise.
I don't know. He's still doing a lot of the same stuff he was doing back then, which we will get into.
I guess I think of him as the dad role of being with Olivia and Leo.
Yeah.
And he just seems much more grown up, where Alexis is still throwing temper tantrums, screaming at her kids like she's the child.
I can see that.
So, doesn't seem like it was 20 years ago.
No. All right, so let's just dig in. So, obviously, and we are not reading this word for word, but we are totally going to link Curly Q Girls Mixed Marriages 4-part DVD descriptions. And I mean, excellent in detail.
Yes.
We're not going to do that to you. We're not going to do that to ourselves. So,
and there was storyline detail in there also that if we would have got started on, we would have been stuck in that rabbit hole for 3 months.
Yeah, so that was really difficult to keep on track too, because there is a little bit of storyline that comes into play somewhere, and we're going to touch on it, but we're not going to get into that storyline because that's a whole other, there's a few of them actually. So
yeah.
So obviously, we just talked about the fact that once Ned and Alexis were together, and we actually kind of touched on that in the New Year's Eve episode, because wasn't it New Year's Eve or was it Christmas that they met at the Port Charles Grill? It was the first time that they saw each other and they were at the bar.
I think it was the Grill.
Yeah, but was it Christmas or New Year's Eve?
I think it was New Year's.
Okay. On one of the past episodes that we've done for a holiday, Ned and Alexis met. It's when he was still married to Lois. It was right after Brooklyn was born. All right, we're not going to get into it. We've already talked about it.
Yeah, I don't remember what holiday it was, but you're right. It was around the holiday. Yeah.
And we kind of touched on Jax and Chloe's relationship when we talked about him when he came back to the show on the Who is Jax 411 on June 6th, 2019. But I guess for those who don't know, Chloe was an internationally famous fashion designer who was living in London but came to Port Charles because she's Lila's cousin, and Felicia was doing this whole thing about a book and wanted these love letters that Chloe had. And so Felicia went and got Chloe, brought her over. She and Jax were smitten with each other at the beginning. They weren't actually officially together when the whole marriage swap thingy happened.
They were Lila and Edward's love letters.
Yes, that was it. They were Lila and Edward's love letters.
A lot of this, we'll talk about how much Lila loved Chloe, and I think that was because she was a romantic like Lila was.
I agree. I would absolutely agree with that. So Chloe owned Chloe Morgan Designs. She was able to fund it because her uncle had helped her with the startup and everything. Well, he had passed away some years ago, and she had until the 5th anniversary of her uncle's death to be happily married, or she was going to lose the company. The 5th anniversary was like a month away, and she wasn't married yet. So that kind of sets us up for what we are going to talk about today. And Jax and Ned do not like each other. Obviously, we're not going to get into the whole way that like they all found each other, blah, 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 blah. So Ned is obviously of Quartermaine. And when they found out that Chloe was in danger of losing the company, he was like, okay, I'll marry her.
They were related somehow. They were like third cousins removed or
something. They are third cousins twice removed.
Twice removed. Thank you.
Yep. There's no blood. Yeah. I wrote that down somewhere. Oh, yeah. And that's the other thing. So on YouTube, we have tried to do it in sequential order videos. Just gonna leave it at that. There's 2 really good ones that are labeled Jax, Ned, Alexis, Chloe, or whatever. And it's part 1 and part 2. And they do a really good job of doing the whole story, except for the ending. There was some things that we could not find an ending to.
Every video seemed to show up to when they got married, their wedding ceremony, which obviously we'll get into, and then the honeymoon after and a vacation after that. But once you hit December of 1999, oh my gosh, then there was nothing.
Nada.
So, which makes me sad because some of these things that are referenced, I would have liked to have seen again.
Oh, absolutely. We might have to buy these DVDs. Okay, so basically, Ned says that he'll marry Chloe, and Alexis is all on board and goes and tells Jax about this because she and Jax are BFF. Yeah. And they're seriously the cutest best friends ever.
They are. They still are to this day. I mean, he always references she's his favorite ex-wife. And if you hadn't watched all of this, you would wonder what the heck he was talking about. But after seeing these videos and just how cute they are together, you understand that friendship now.
Yeah. So they wind up getting together in the Quartermaine's den, and they're talking about, okay, when can we do this? And Jax is like, okay, you need to do it right now, because if you do it closer to the deadline, it's going to look very suspicious. So he said, why don't we go to Vegas?
Makes sense.
And Ned wants, absolutely. If you need a quickie marriage, that's where you go. And I love that Ned wanted to be married by Elvis and was like, thank you very much. It was so cute. And then on the plane, Jax was like, you can't get married by Elvis. And Ned says if he wants to take his 5th vows before Elvis and God, he can. And Jax is like, listen, I've made it this far in life without seeing anyone married by Elvis, and he's not going to watch it happen to this delightful young lady as he is schmoozing Miss Chloe.
Yes, exactly.
And Alexis actually backed up Jax and said that they don't need to embarrass Chloe any more than basically she's already going to be. And Alexis gave her a blue garter. So that is Chloe's something old, borrowed, and blue. And before they had left, Jax had given her a bouquet of flowers. And so that's her something new.
Perfect. I did like that Alexis said, here, let me go get her done up. She needs to look beautiful. And that she went away for a couple minutes, like to the front of the plane. And then they came back out. And she was like, ta-da! And both of the men were like, yeah, we don't see any difference. And they said, she brushed her teeth and they brushed her hair. And that was it.
In all fairness, though, what guy's going to notice that? Unless you're kissing, then they notice that you brushed your teeth.
Most guys wouldn't even notice that she had redone all her makeup and cut her hair. So,
yeah. I mean, and her hair didn't look disheveled. So it's not like.
No. Right. They were on an airplane. They didn't just wake up. But it was cute the way that they were trying to make it as realistic of a wedding as you could possibly do.
Yeah. And then while Alexis was away doing that is when Jax was accusing Ned of using Chloe to bump up L&B records. And Ned's like, yeah, he didn't even deny it.
He didn't. Who was on L&B right then?
I kept reading Miguel's name.
Okay.
He was definitely not on the show. But at the time, that's when Ricky Martin was shebangs.
Yep.
And living la vida loca.
Yep.
I'm shaking my hips right now, guys.
So he was probably on the label. You just didn't see him because he had actually got famous in real life.
Maybe that's why they were talking about it. They were like, oh, we're going to talk about someone.
Yeah, because they didn't have any unattractive artists on their label, so Chloe Morgan didn't have to design much to make them look even better.
Right. And that's the thing, is that it's a win-win because she's going to design the clothes for the L&B artists. And
right, I feel like she was on board with that too, even if they didn't have a discussion. She had to know he was hoping to get something out of this.
Yeah. So then they get to Vegas and they get to the chapel. By some stroke of genius, Ned had made the reservation under Davis because it was the easiest to spell.
Yes, Chapel of Bells. That was the name of the chapel. Chapel of Bells.
Okay.
Yes.
With Reverend You I Love.
There you go.
Cheesy. And then suddenly a woman walked in and told the group that she knew the wedding was a sham and that Chloe was going to lose everything. And the funniest thing about this whole thing is that Alexis was standing next to Chloe, Ned was standing next to Jax, and so the Reverend is under the impression that Chloe and Alexis are getting married.
Mm-hmm.
But he keeps referring to Ned as Ms. Davis.
Right. Ned was getting very annoyed with that. Do I look like a Ms. Davis? No.
So Aunt Gertrude comes in, and that's Uncle Herbert's wife, and she had her attorneys define what happily means in happily married. And according to the attorneys, it's a decent courtship, a proper wedding with announcements, and attended by family and friends. So obviously, quickie marriage in Vegas.
Right, not going to work. And that was when they could easily say, oh no, you misunderstood. This is the Davis wedding, and handed the flowers over to Alexis. That was Jax, who instantly was like, no, you've misunderstood.
He was on the ball, and Alexis just went with it.
She did. She rolled right with it. I don't know. I know we're good friends, but I still don't know that I could marry someone else that quickly. If you started telling that story, I would have been like, wait a second. What are we doing? And she just went right with it. Yep, I am Alexis Davis, and we are getting married. Right. And they were expecting Aunt Gertrude to leave then so that they didn't actually have to get married.
Correct.
And she decided she'd stick around because why not?
Yeah. And my favorite part was when, they asked, does anyone object?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they all looked at each other like, okay, are we actually doing this?
And no one said, I object. So they went through with it. That ceremony was like 3 seconds long.
It really was. And
it was.
Jax laid one on Alexis. And then Ned just like leans in and like, stop kissing the bride.
It was very cute.
So then Jax and Alexis are married. And
yeah, they went home. They didn't honeymoon right after that.
No.
Ned and Chloe said that their wedding was 2 weeks later because Gertrude started asking for the information, and they said, oh, you didn't get your invitation? We sent it to you. The wedding will be in 2 weeks at the Quartermain house, blah, 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 blah. And so
international mail, it got lost.
Yes, exactly.
So when they get back to Port Charles, they have to tell the Quartermains that Ned and Chloe are now engaged, and Jax and Alexis are married.
Right. And all of the Quartermains are like, no, that doesn't make sense because Ned was just dating Alexis 2 minutes ago.
Although Jax did have a really good cover story for that, with he and Alexis had been stranded in the Sahara because, I mean, it happens. And, it's kind of like what we've talked about with Cam and Trina, where you're in this life or death situation and something can happen from it. So why wouldn't they? And so what did Alexis say? Like, she came back and they started sneaking around, and finally they couldn't hold their feelings anymore.
Yeah. So the obvious answer was to run off to Vegas and get married.
Of course. But this is when Nedward reminds them that they are cousins, says this family has done questionable things, but marrying each other isn't one of them. But then Lila interjected and said, if they're both confident in their decision, she wishes them the best. And then she says, marriage is not a trivial affair. Treat it with respect and you'll reap bountiful rewards. I love Lila.
Yes. Every time I watch her, it makes, yes, I was going to say, every scene that we watch with her in it, it makes me miss her more and more. She really was the glue that held that whole family together. And just the way that they all talked to her, Ned and Chloe went to her and said, we want to tell you the truth. Is this okay? Before they went ahead with their wedding in the following weeks.
Well, and Edward even called them out on having a plan and was like, we're going to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
So then, Alexis has to move in with Jax, and Chloe and Ned showed up. Ned told Alexis that now was their big chance to sneak around, and the Quartermaines would be more suspicious if he did not have an affair.
Can't argue with that one.
And then, I'm sorry, this is actually when they came up with the backstory about why they switched partners.
Oh, I thought they had said that at the Quartermaines.
I don't know, they might have. This is the thing. So I watched all of the videos and then I went back to Curly Q Girl's write-ups to try to put it in order. Regardless if it happened before or after, it's the same section.
Right. No, it was the same storyline, but I thought that Edward questioned why were they even there? Because Jax and Alexis were there to announce that Chloe and Ned were getting married.
Right. But I don't think they had announced. I don't remember if they told the Cassadines. I don't remember if they told the Quartermaines that Alexis and Ned were married at that time. Oh well.
I thought Gertrude showed up.
She did. You're right.
And that was so they had the conversation in the living room, and then they went to all leave because they didn't want to hear the Quartermaines complaining. And right as they were getting ready to leave, Gertrude came in, and Edward said, "What are you doing showing up? You weren't invited." And she said, "Well, I was let in, and I just wanted to let you know that your nephew or your grandson is doing all of this awful stuff to help my niece steal this company that should be mine." And her and Edward started working together to make sure that this wedding didn't happen.
Yeah. And then the thing that they gave for Ned and Chloe was that Ned was so torn that, he found himself with Chloe. And by the time Alexis realized her mistake, Ned was already in love.
Right.
But the trick
that wasn't as good of a cover story.
Yeah. But the thing is that like Ned and Alexis have to stay married for at least a year.
Ned and Chloe.
Yes. Jackson, Alexis, and Ned and Chloe. Sorry.
That's okay. I thought you were starting to say Alexis and Jax, and I was like, no, not technically, but they decided to stay married just to make it look more realistic. But yes, Chloe and Ned have to stay married for a year, and then Gertrude won't have any claim to her company.
Yes. And then the four of them go out to dinner quite a lot.
They did go out to dinner quite a lot, but they were planning the first big dinner I think that we saw was when they were planning the breakup between Jax and Alexis. And they were going to have a big fight because Gertrude was staying at the same hotel that Jax lived at. Yeah, they had their first dinner, the four of them, so that they could break up in front of Gertrude. And it was like a whole conversation of who's breaking up with who and why are they breaking up and what's going to happen. And right as they're getting ready to start is whenever the Jax family walks in and wants to meet Jax's new bride. I love the Jax family.
I know, they were so sweet. Well, and so right before that, though, was Ned and Chloe were leaving. And this is when they told Lila, because Chloe told Ned that as long as she's married to him, he'll always be late. And Lila came in and said exactly how long will that be? And insisted that they tell her the truth about what's going on. And she said that she's kept many secrets for the family. What's one more? Just seeing the whole Jax family too. I mean, that was just because Lady Jane just died last year, not 19 and 18, right?
Yeah, I think it was 18, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
That sounds right.
And the thing that I love the most, I mean, even though they weren't a significant character on the show, when the actors that portray both Lady Jane and John Jax passed away, they had Jax's parents die, and I like that at a certain age, they just this is it.
Right. No one else would have been able to play those characters the same way, because even when Jax was talking about something that his parents did and you didn't see them on screen, you could picture the way those characters would play whatever it is that Jax is telling you about. So if they would have replaced them, it would have never worked.
Right.
Amanda, guess what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for me to pick out my FabFitFun selections.
Oh my gosh, you were so excited with the last box. What are you going to get this time?
I love FabFitFun. Seriously, I've been using it for over a year, and at first I was like, do I really want to, spend money on that? Yes.
I know how excited
you get
you
over
were.
$200 worth of products for only $49.99, and it's once a quarter.
That's not bad at all.
No, not at all. One of the items that I'm getting in my spring box is a light therapy anti-wrinkle light.
Ooh.
I've seen them listed other places for well over $100, and that's going to be included in my box. They also have robes, different lotions, sprays. There's a really cute umbrella on there. Tons of things for you to pick out.
You're making me want one.
You could go to our website, pure54podcast.com, and just go under the savings tab and click the get offer button under the FabFitFun. Make sure to use promo code RAINBOW and you get $10 off your first box.
That's a deal.
It's amazing. So go check out our website, pure54podcast.com, and make sure to use promo code RAINBOW for $10 off your first box. And you're going to love it.
Ned had asked Jax to help him pick out a wedding band for Chloe, and the ladies celebrated Chloe with like a bridal shower, and she was getting a ton of lingerie. I mean,
yes. And it was Carly who hosted that shower.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
I did not.
Okay, so Carly and AJ had just got married, and they had a shower for her, and everything that she got at her shower was stuff for Michael. And then she went to the shower. She hosted the shower for Chloe because Lila asked her to, and everyone there was giving her really good presents like you would traditionally give a soon-to-be newlywed. And Carly got all mad because everything that she got was for Michael, not for her. And so she went off about, oh, they're all happy. I'll never belong in this family. I didn't get any lingerie, blah, blah, blah. She didn't say it to Chloe, luckily. She said it to Bobby outside, but still, it was one of those things that you were like, yeah, there's Carly throwing a hissy fit. We all knew that she didn't marry into that family for love. What did she expect? Her and Chloe got along really nicely, though, and Chloe thanked her repeatedly for the for the bridal shower, so that was very nice. Ned didn't do a bachelor party, did he?
Oh, I don't think he did.
I would have thought they would have held one just to make it look traditional.
Maybe because it wasn't his first wedding.
Maybe.
We'll go with that answer.
There we go. I don't know.
That works.
There you go. So then it was the wedding day, right? There was nothing else?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So then it was the wedding day, and Alexis was the maid of honor, and Jax was the groomsman, and they got married in the backyard. Chloe made the dresses. I liked how much detail she went into for that. She had asked Ned what he thought of this color with this color whenever she was designing them earlier in the week, and that was cute. And then Gertrude objected because she found a note that Ned had written to Alexis that got kind of steamy about how he was thinking of her and was going to miss their time together. So Gertrude said that she had found the letter and that it was obvious then that Ned did not want to be married to Chloe, that he was still harboring feelings for Alexis. And Alexis stood up and said that there was way more pages to this paper than what Gertrude was saying. And if you only took that first page, it was completely out of context. And then Chloe said, well, I told him to write that letter because he needed to say his final goodbye. This was kind of a whirlwind romance, blah, blah, blah. And so I understood and I knew about the letter and there was nothing to be concerned about. And she kept trying to hold the wedding up after that. And the minister said, okay, no, we asked for objections. You're not really giving us anything extra, so we're moving on. And then they went ahead and got married.
And didn't he say something like, it's just a formality, we don't actually stop?
Yes, exactly. We don't really care if anyone objects.
Right.
There wasn't a big wedding reception.
No.
They had like appetizers out in the courtyard or whatever, but there wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't as formal as I thought that it would be.
Well, and one of the things that Aunt Gertrude said was, oh, well, let me gift you with a honeymoon in Bora Bora.
Yes.
at Uncle Herbert's resort.
Yes, it was a spa. She said the name of the spa. I didn't write it down, but it's the spa. And Chloe was quick to point out, isn't that the spa you inherited from my uncle? Give me a break. And then she said Ned had already planned their vacation to Rome.
Yep. And I loved how, so the Jacks family kept trying to get to know Alexis better. And
Yes.
Lady Jane took her hiking.
Oh, poor Alexis. Poor Alexis trying to be accepted into that family. Lady Jane meant it in the nicest way, but if someone said to me, let's go on, what did they say, a 6-mile hike, 10-mile hike, something absurd like that, I would die. There's just no way.
And apparently Jax's favorite meal growing up was moose burgers.
Yes, not surprising.
No, not at all. You hear that he eats a lot of moose because that's also what they had for Thanksgiving.
Yes. I guess that's like what you eat there. I don't know. I've never had a moose burger. I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
This was where my favorite line of this entire thing happened. Alexis was talking about not liking going on the hikes and camping, and she started talking about, that stuff that you spray on so the bears don't attack you. And Jax said, there's no such thing. What are you talking about? And so she kept talking about it, and he said, I can't have my wife pining over another man and making up imaginary wilderness products. And so that was how they ended up then going to Rome also.
Yep, Jax and Alexis wound up showing up in Rome also.
I know it was a fake honeymoon, but I would be so angry if it was my honeymoon and someone else just showed up to join along.
Well, and then it was so cute so Jax and Chloe tried to sneak off. Well, they did sneak off, but they were dressed as German tourists.
Yes.
And she was dressed like those pigtails in her hair, or the dual French braids or whatever, and those big nerdy glasses. And I'm sorry, he just looked like a guy, but
right?
What was he wearing? Like board shorts and a polo?
And that crazy hat. He had a crazy.
That's right.
Yes. And she had her sketch pad with her because she said if she had her sketch pad, then people didn't bother her. If she didn't have her sketch pad, then people would ask her for directions and stuff, and she needed to pretend like she couldn't speak any. So.
Well, and the thing is, too, about Jax and Chloe at this point, they still haven't kissed.
Right. They were so cute.
Interrupted.
They did. They got interrupted, and it was a long courting process between them. It was very cute.
It was. And they had left Ned and Alexis alone for some time.
That was my only comment on this whole thing. I have never seen Alexis need so much alone time with a man as during this whole thing. They had grown-up time every 10 minutes, it seemed like.
They really did. I mean, it was also 21 years ago, so a little bit younger.
I mean, I'm jealous. I don't say it in a negative way. It's just funny that no matter what hotel they were staying at, no matter what the day's plans were, somehow the two of them needed time to sneak off for alone time. And I haven't seen Alexis like that since then with any of the boyfriends that she's had.
Yeah. Oh, Julian, yeah.
I don't know. Her and Neil are not connecting like that.
No. But so Jax and Chloe decide to go back to the hotel, and Aunt Gertrude is actually paying off the maid to help her surprise her niece by opening the door to Chloe and Ned's room, where Ned and Alexis are in bed together. So Jax and Chloe hide in the corner. Chloe climbs out the 5th-story hallway window and was able to get into her room. And then out in the hallway, Jax basically told off Gertrude. And she
invited her to dinner.
She's like, don't you care that we're going to go in and find your wife in bed with somebody else? And
he kept saying that his wife was sleeping.
What was that?
He kept saying his wife was sleeping and that they should go to dinner or go get drinks and just talk about things, and she would not have it.
Yep. And so they open the door, and there is Ned in bed with Chloe. But Alexis was hiding under the bed.
Yes. She did a good job hiding her sneezes.
Yes.
And after Gertrude left, she came out sneezing like there was so much dust under there. She did a good job being quiet before that.
So then I think that's when they decided to get the bright idea to find someone for Aunt Gertrude to get married to. So basically, after being caught, the 4 of them decide that they need to find another way to overcome Aunt Gertrude, because if she's following them to Rome and having maids sneak up on them and everything, it's going to be shaky. So they wind up, when they get back to Port Charles, talking to Mike Corbin, who at the time was being played by Ron Hale, not current Mike.
Right.
And so basically, and this is when Mike had he had just recovered from his gambling problem, but I mean, he was still having the money issues and whatnot. So they were like, who could we pay $100,000 to? Mike. Sounds
But in the
great.
beginning, even Mike was smart enough to turn them down.
He did. And then they basically told them all the details about what was going on, and they offered him $1,000 up front
for dinner, right? Just to try one dinner and see how it goes.
Yep. And I think that Mike said something about how there's not enough money in the world to pay him or something like that. Or
Gertrude was pretty awful. I don't know how much money it would cost for me to hang out with her either.
But so he gives it a shot. You know, he gets together with Gertrude and he does try to date her, I guess.
Right.
And then for New Year's Eve, he said that he was not going to take out on Gertrude, that he already had plans with his special lady, and that was Tammy. But then he did decide, okay, they gave him a whole bunch of cash and he said, okay, I'll take her. This was Y2K too. So, I mean, 1999 was a big year for New Year's Eve. And I guess Chloe and Jax were going to go to Times Square, but they decided that it was too dangerous because Mike was actually going to be taking Gertrude there also. Jax got them somewhere that they could be alone. And they finally got it on.
Wow,
it's about the first time that they did.
Right, it doesn't say it as excited as I would have said it, because they had so much back and forth and so many interruptions.
To get kissed.
Right. I would have wrote it with little like sparklers around it. They finally hooked up.
Right. So then Mike eventually just calls the deal off and is like, I'm done. Ned and Chloe go to Alan and Monica asking them to get divorced so that Alan can marry Gertrude. And the selling point was that if they did, Ned would leave AJ alone about ELQ, because this is when AJ was in charge of ELQ. Was he CEO or was he just on the board? Doesn't matter.
I'm pretty sure he was CEO, because they eventually asked Ned to come back and take over, and he said no, he wasn't going to fix what they had messed up, and that he was staying on, focusing on L&B, not on ELQ then, because it wasn't his mistake that AJ had screwed everything all up.
When they told Monica, we need him to marry Gertrude because she can take away Chloe's company, blah, 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 blah. And Monica's, yeah, but you guys are happily married, so what's the issue?
Yeah, and their excuse is stupid. They're just tired of being followed around. I feel like you wouldn't ask someone to break up their marriage and get married to someone else, or to entertain someone else just because you're tired of being followed around.
Well, didn't Ned even say you guys are due for a divorce anytime now? I do like all the little jabs that were put in.
Yes. The characters had a lot more spark between them back then.
Yeah. Well, and then so Ned and Jax are talking about, Jax is saying that he needs to get a divorce because there was and this is the big storyline that I don't want to get too involved in, because something was going on with Jerry that could take down Jax, and it had to do with money laundering, and it has to do with Sonny, and Alexis gets involved as an attorney.
Right.
I feel like that is all that we really need to say, because Jax is Jerry's brother, so he's going to go save his brother however he can. Alexis chooses to represent Sonny.
Right.
Where Jax, Jerry, and money are all involved, I don't know, because I did not.
And that was the first time that Jax said, we need to get divorced because I don't want you to be trapped in this fallout that's going to happen because you're my wife. And she said, no, she's going to stick by him because they were BFFs, and that's what it's about.
And that's when she offered up the Cassadine money too, right? And she was like, at least the Cassadine money could do some good.
Yes. And that was kind of one of their side adventures, was they needed to have the will that showed that Alexis's dad was actually Alexis's dad, so that she would be entitled to a portion of the inheritance. And Helena was trying to keep that from her because Helena's evil and always has been. And so there was a lot of their back and forth. That was a lot of the stuff that happened in 2000 that there wasn't any video of, I'm assuming, because it wasn't that exciting, of them trying to find all of the information so that Alexis could get her rightful inheritance.
Yeah. But so, just keeping somewhat on track, I guess, Jerry had actually walked in on Jax and Chloe, so he knew what was going on. And I think this is when they decided they immediately had to go to Luke's so that people saw them together and everything. And then Jax and Chloe wind up taking the horses and they go on this romantic horseback ride in the woods and they talk about their dreams and their childhood. And then they start to head back. And I guess Chloe was supposed to be meeting Ned for an ELQ meeting or business meeting. I'm sorry.
She was on the board because Lila had given her shares.
Yeah. And the horses took off. And so she wound up being passed out for a little bit. And then Jax got her conscious, and Chloe hates snakes just as much as I do. Basically, they wound up spending the night. Alexis covers for Chloe at the meeting. No, it was an L&B client because that way they didn't know they didn't know that Alexis wasn't Chloe. But they'd also left their cell phones at home. But also keep in mind, in 1999 or 2000, not the best reception anyway.
Right.
So basically, like in the stables, Jax comes walking in carrying Chloe, and Ned's like, what the heck? Where were you? All of this. They just start blowing up. And I mean, Ned and Jax just do not get along. And so, Ned is like, you're so irresponsible. This could have all blown up. It would have all been your fault. Blah, 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 blah. And then there was also a lot of each couple had to put on a front in case other people were watching. So like when Chloe and Ned moved into the gatehouse, they had to kind of be on each other as much as possible. And Edward actually put a surveillance camera in the gatehouse. And I forget how Ned found the camera, but he did. And so he and Chloe decided to put on a show. And this is what I love so much, because right now we're living in the age of a Ring doorbell. You know, that you can watch on your phone. In 2000, we had the little green background Nokias that I don't think we could even text yet. And the idea of being able to watch your front door from your phone, not happening.
Right.
So the surveillance company had to bring the VHS tape to the Quartermain mansion the next day. And thankfully, Lila was able to intercept it and gave it to Reginald. And I guess Reginald knew something was up. He brought it to the gatehouse and Alexis was there. And he's like, I think this has something to do with the thing I'm not supposed to know anything about. And so Alexis pops it in and sees.
Right.
And then she starts to get all curious about, are they getting too close? Because it didn't really look very fake.
Right.
And Jax was like, no, Ned loves you. Don't worry. But I mean, Alexis did have a little bit. So Alexis was really getting close to the Jax family. And I think Ned at a couple points was like, you don't have to be that good of a wife. But then Chloe was getting close to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chloe was doing what Alexis should have been doing as Brooklyn's dad's partner.
Right.
I mean, she made her a princess dress. She got her pancakes.
Yeah, I would have more of an objection to that. Adults can deal with the separation and divorce, but Brooklyn was a child.
Right.
Not that,
and I mean,
not that Chloe should have been mean to her, but she doesn't understand that they're just married as a business deal.
Right. And I mean, Chloe was just being Chloe. Chloe was a sweetheart. So, yeah. And it's not like she was doing it to be vindictive. It was just, no, oh my gosh, I'll totally make you a princess dress. And she would have done it even if Ned and Alexis had been married, she would have made it for her anyway. But I don't think, and I totally understand Alexis's mindset.
Right.
And so many times throughout this entire marriage, Chloe felt guilty and offered them to move on, to get divorces, anything. And they never did. So
they said repeatedly that they had already put in so much effort that why would they bother, having it go down now. And even when Jax was in the trouble that he needed extra money, she said about selling her business, and they all said that was stupid because the whole reason they had done this was so that she could keep her company.
Exactly. So then, I mean, there was just a lot of that stuff going on, more dinners. Luke was making fun of them for being early birds and all that fun stuff. And then this is where we ran out of videos. So then I think the next significant thing that happened was that Helena, and this is the hard thing, is that, so Chloe had posed as Alexis once, Alexis posed as Chloe once. Well, when Chloe was going, because Chloe wound up going with Jax to get that will. and she
Right.
posed as Alexis. We forgot to
Mm-hmm.
mention that. So we forgot to mention that. So when they were back in Port Charles, and Helena actually hit Chloe with her car because Chloe was wearing Alexis's jacket,
Right.
and she wound up in the hospital and was not able to see.
Yes.
Jax is, the one by her side, and he's like, "Don't leave me, blah, 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 blah." And Gertrude walks in.
Yeah. They were all pretty relaxed during Chloe's hospital stay. Alexis and Ned weren't as careful as they used to be either.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then Edward came and said that he was very concerned about the accident and that he's too old, Lila's too fragile to lose her. And he actually apologized for being a pig-headed fool and aligning himself with Gertrude. He said that family is more important than ELQ and he's sorry. And then Chloe winds up getting discharged from the hospital. They're wondering exactly what you said, are the marriages still being perceived as Jack's married to Alexis and everything? Because Edward, I think, also saw Jax with Chloe, whereas Ned was nowhere to be found.
Right. Him and Alexis were off having grown-up time again.
I'm sorry. Like, there were just certain things that I would not be in the mood.
Right. My friend's in the hospital because she got run down because my crazy dad's wife thought that she was me. I don't want to hook up. I'm sorry. Not today.
Right. So then when she's discharged, they're all celebrating. Yay. And finally, Chloe and Jax have some alone time, and she's like, "I'm going to be such a bother to you." And he's, "No, I'm in love with you and I'll do anything." And she's like, "Bring me to the window." And he does. And of course, he's not wearing a shirt because he doesn't need to be wearing one. And I guess this is when he picked her up to take her to the bathtub.
Right.
And Gertrude walked in with a photographer and was snapping photos. And Gertrude was like, "Well, gotcha."
So my question is, does no one have locks on their doors?
Apparently not.
Yeah, Gertrude walked into the hotel rooms multiple times just using the key or whatever. Hotel rooms have that top latch that you can put across. So even if you have a key, you can't just walk in. If you were sneaking around, you would make sure that top was latched. And
even back in the 90s, we had this.
Yes, exactly. And doors to your apartment or whatever had the extra slidey lock at the top. Why are we not locking it?
I don't know. Well, and then one thing we also forgot is that she would bug the hotel. And so
Right.
Jax got the little radio one time and like blasted it and then smashed it, and
Right.
it was a good time.
It was.
But so that's kind of how the whole thing ends, is that Gertrude got the pictures. The thing is that the photographer actually did not know that Chloe was blind. And when he did, he actually gave the negatives to Jax because he was like, yeah, this is messed up. Here you go.
Yeah.
And so they call the police and talk about what Gertrude did. But then Alexis is like, "Yeah, so we committed fraud."
Let's not admit that, okay?
Well, but I mean, they had to, it was
Right.
just, but so that's kind of how it ends, is that, all right, they were caught.
Yeah, it was very anticlimactic for the build up to it because their interactions together, the four of them and the two separate couples, was really cute to see. I liked that walk down memory lane. But it just kind of felt like one day they were, okay, we're done. Let's just sign the papers and we're done. And that's it.
Right.
I
mean,
would
it was
have
cute
expected
when Ned
more
was
of it.
like, well, when Ned was telling Jax no more kissing Alexis, and Ned and Alexis are saying about how much they miss cheating and stuff like that.
Yes. It was sweet through the whole thing. We forgot to say, when Jax and Chloe would get close to making love, they would stop themselves because they said they wouldn't be able to continue with this charade. Once they made love, they would be busy making goo eyes at each other all the time. So they were just going to wait until it was over. And that was cute.
Cover the gentleman.
Yes. Not always, but yes. With Chloe, he was. They were cute.
And
Their
so,
flirtation was cute.
and then Jax and Alexis had to tell the Jax family that the marriage was phony and that he really loves Chloe. And I think that at one point, the Jax family had said something about, not that they didn't like Chloe, but they like loved Alexis and what a perfect match she was for him. And there was something really cute back when he was trying to tell Alexis that we need to have the divorce now because, of the stuff with Jerry. And she's like, "But I make your popcorn for you." And
That was all she ever made for him. That was as much of a dinner as she ever made, which was funny. That's my kind of marriage. I can make you popcorn, that's it.
So then Jax and Chloe moved in together, and Alexis came with the divorce papers. Chloe tactfully exited to retrieve something she forgot at her suite, and Jax, ever the gentleman, and Alexis disagreed about who would file against whom. And then there's a note that says, New York is a no-fault divorce state. There must be one
Not
person
a no-fault.
clearly...
It's not a no-fault.
New York is not a no-fault divorce state. There must be one person clearly in the wrong, and they decided that Alexis would file against Jax.
Yep, I like that. But it's that someone has to take the blame.
Yeah. There was one time where Alexis was still wearing her wedding ring, and she was like, maybe we should all just stay married to the ones that we're married to. She actually confessed that the thought of her happiness being dependent on someone else terrifies her. And that is still true today.
Right, exactly. I think that sums up Alexis in a nutshell right there.
So yeah, that is the kind of quick rundown of what the heck we've been talking about when we're talking about the whole marriage swap thing with Chase, Willow, Sasha, Michael. So Alexis would be Sasha. Jax would be Michael. No.
Chloe would be Michael because that was who needed the favor done.
Yeah. Willow would be Jax.
Right.
No. Willow would be Ned. Hold on.
Yes, Willow would be Ned. You're right. Michael would be Chloe and Willow would be Ned because that was the pair that got together.
And then Sasha would be Alexis,
mm-hmm.
and Chase would be Jax.
Right.
So that's where we are. I mean, I definitely don't think that what's going to be happening with, if it even happens, because again, we've recorded this before watching this week's episodes, so we don't know what has happened. I mean, they're not going to run into the same, I don't know. It's interesting because they won't have the Aunt Gertrude, and they have so many more people that would stand behind them and say, no, they're totally in love.
Right. I think the problem is going to be the timeline. Chloe needed 1 year. Michael needs forever. Or until something bad happens to Nell. At that point, just have Sunny take her out. Why even bother with the marriage?
Right. Take Josh's suggestion and...
Exactly. I don't know. I hope they don't redo the whole thing, but I think that's where they're going.
And this was a lot of fun, though. Watching these old episodes.
It was. It made me disappointed that there wasn't more of 2000 though, because I was totally getting into it for 1999 and watching it, and then it just kind of stopped. Yep. And I wanted to see some of the other episodes that were referenced.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of scenes that I would have loved to have seen.
Yeah. Scenes I would love to have seen. Okay.
So we hope that you have enjoyed this informational session about...
Right. At least everyone knows what we're talking about now when we reference that other set that kept switching partners.
Yep. So join us on Monday as we do our weekly recap of this week's episodes of General Hospital.
Have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to pier54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Pier 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at pier54podcast@gmail.com.